that's gonna take control. I need something that I could never find, boy, you got it and it ain't for sure. Hey, oh baby, won't you take my hand and never ever let me go? But it's time for us to take our stand, show the world that we're a miracle. That's all I wanted from you, a little more attitude. Oh, how can I refuse? 'Cause you're the one that I choose. 'Cause all I wanted from you was for our love to come through. There's nothing else I can do, but you're the one that I choose.
wrecked in front of the pack. He saves it. 3-4 wide as they come to the white flag.
Here comes Vargas down on the apron. They are 5 wide. Ian Plash will win it at the line. Is this package? Oh, there goes Jordy Lopez Jr. That's your race leader. Caution flag is out.
Still no one willing to give up as they are going to be dead even off of the first chicane.
Oh, he saves it. What's going to happen here?
Here comes the canvas. Get your foot there. He's got it. He's got it. Get there. No.
This is going to win.
The Barr Visual FTF Cup Series at FTF.gg welcome you to the streets of Chicago. Tonight, it's the RaceEPI.com 200K live from the Chicago Street Course in Chicago, Illinois. Glad to have you with us here on FTF.gg. Jacob Pitts and Joe Peak with you for the call tonight. We brought the Road Ringer out, set to go for 55 laps around this brand new racetrack. Not new to the sim by any stretch, but it's new to the real world since they're racing there for the first time this weekend. And Joe, we basically have a carbon copy of the Coke Series race on Tuesday night. The two fastest drivers are here and are on the front row ready to duke it out again.
Exactly. And you might think, well, okay, that sounds boring. We know what's going to happen. I say no. These are two high caliber drivers. They're both going to have learned things from that race. And I bet you they're going to try and use it to their advantage as much as they can. They're going to be pulling some tricky stuff to try and out-strategize one another, especially since that basically is what it came down to in the Coke race.
And you can't forget about the other 38 drivers in this field as well. They could always play a factor by the time this thing is said and done. Let's take a look at our starting grid for tonight's race. Qualifying wrapping up a little while ago. Bobby Zelensky is on the pole, filling in for Kevin King tonight. Kevin decided to hand it over to a different Californian. So Zelensky gets the nod. Parker White to the outside. Graham Boland filling in once again for Cosman tonight. He's got Wyatt Tinsley to the outside in row 2. Tyler Gary and Brian Mercurio in row number 3. Blake Reynolds and Nate Stewart, 7th and 8th. Michael P. Frisch and Brandon Hawken rounding out the top 10.
Then in 11th, it's going to be Landon Mills, followed by Dylan Basin in 12th, then Jonathan Oates in P13. Jonathan O'Shallam will start from the 14th spot. Daniel Falkingham was supposed to start from 15th, but he's starting from pit lane, along with Kalonix down there in P16. David Cabrera will be P17, flanked by Austin Johnson. Kevin McAdams starts from 19th, and Seth Noel will be in 20th.
Chris Wetz in 21st, Ryan Naraki there in 22nd, Jack Mason, Aaron Riolo, 23rd and 24th. Once again, filling in for Sebastian Marin is Riolo. Jake Pullen tonight gets the nod. He's got Corey Cook to the outside, Matthew Zwack, Ethan Corder in the Dodge, Paul Mikolajczyk, and Jamie Ritchie Price, the Aussie, gets in tonight. He's rounding out the field in 30th.
David Brown will start up in 31st. You've got Cole Freilich in the 32nd position, then Blake Bryant 33rd, and Ryan Pedicio in the 34th position. Jordan Worth will be on the inside of the next row, flanked by Art Reimer. Art is going to be starting from pit lane. AJ Green is next, then Jeremy Clapper-Newell in 38th. Matt Spalding and Hamilton Akabuezi will be in 40th.
And that's your field. 40-car field, because this track can only hold 40 cars. We are about set to go. They're in the last leg of the racetrack down East Jackson Drive. They turn onto South Columbus Drive. Out of turn 12, the pace car heads to the pit lane, and 40 cars roar to life. We're racing on the streets of Chicago in FTF.
This first corner is going to be so important. It's going to get very stacked up here. Let's see who makes it through. And so far, I like what I'm seeing. A little bit of 3 wide, but for the most part, they're behaving pretty well.
A couple of drivers in the back of the field lock the tires up, but so far so good. 3 wide, though, inside the top 10. Michael P. Frisch, Nate Stewart almost making contact. You've got Landon Mills there as well. The 3 Chevys sorted out. That's now 8th, 9th, and 10th as the field keeps on rolling. Here comes Mills diving to the inside.
This is where it's probably going to get mostly single file that gets super narrow down through East Roosevelt. It does open back up, but you probably don't want to be fighting in some of those places. It's better to think survival mode here.
They come down into turn 6. They turn onto East Balboa Drive, and they head to my favorite corner now that Michael Cozy Jr. named it, Wallabonga Laga Maga Laga. We'll see if I can get that out the rest of the night. I at least have it written down. This is turn 7. They turn onto East Congress Plaza Drive.
Yeah, the pretty much only fast sweeper other than turn 3 through this corner, and it's not quite flat out. It's going to be tricky, especially as the tires start to go away a little bit.
Slowly making their way back around. This is back on East Jackson Drive out of turn 11. They had to turn 12. Aaron Riolo has trouble. Riolo has trouble. Oh, and he gets drop kicked.
Yeah, it's a really bad spot over there. Yeah, it's very blind coming out of East Congress Plaza Drive there. He's able to get it spin turned around, and we got another one.
Oh, it's pulling. Man, oh man, so Riolo just lost it on his own. Have to check and see what happened to Pullen as well. So they didn't crash on lap 1, but... Well, they did crash on lap 1, just at the very tail end of it. Because Pullen crashed in turn 11, and it was Riolo that crashed there in turn 10.
The leaders didn't, but the others couldn't quite make it through. Meanwhile, exiting back onto South Columbus. Expect this to be the most popular place to pass here. Coming into turn 6, drivers are going to get their best opportunities, but it takes getting a very good run off of Roosevelt.
Down through 7. Let's take a look at the replay first with Riolo. See what happened to the 048. It was on that East Congress Plaza Drive spot where it just looked like the car got light and it got loose. You'll see it right around here as they come around.
Oh, yeah, that kind of comes back to what I was talking about. The car can't quite take it through there flat out. First lap, probably still pretty cold on those tires, and the rears just didn't have enough grip to stay in it.
AJ Green that got a piece of him. Now there's Pullen. He goes around the outside. He's okay. And then they come down here to this corner, and he just overdrives it. Sticks it right into the Jersey barrier.
I was going to say he didn't hit the tires, which is the bad thing, so he got a pretty good thwack to the front of the car. Honestly, you want to kind of bail early if you can, either to take the escape roads or make sure that you hit those tire barriers, or else it's going to hurt a lot more.
A lot of good battles mid-pack. Let's start with Nate Stewart and Michael P. Frisch. This is the battle for 8th. Stewart around the outside, gets by Frisch. You've got Brandon Hawken right behind as well. He's very strong on the road courses. They come out of turn number 5.
Hawkins nice and close here, but I don't think he's quite good enough unless he's really aggressive. And I don't know if these early stages really merit it, because we know no matter what, we will have at least one caution. If they don't get it, is in the background, somebody's lost it. I think that's Basin.
Yep. Has some damage to the right front, stuck it into the tire barriers, and it looks like he just lost it under braking and decided the best option was to just aim for the tires instead of another competitor. But a lot of damage to the right side of that 04.
Yeah, this is going to be very different from what a lot of these drivers are used to, with this being the first street circuit that we're seeing NASCAR take to. And your instincts have to be completely recalibrated on how to handle these sorts of situations. So yeah, hopefully they've had enough time and practice to really kind of adjust. But if you haven't, you might make some silly decisions in the heat of the moment.
Got to keep in mind, as far as a broadcaster perspective, as this race rolls along and everybody gets strung out, it'll be a lot harder to catch things on the racetrack, especially those toward the back of the field. So bear with us if we miss something. We may come back around and discover it anyway. But nonetheless, Bobby Zielinski, your leader there. You see this is 3rd on back, rather 4th on back. You got Wyatt Tinsley in the 20, Tyler Gary in the 8, Brian Mercurio in the 41. Your top 7 are either current Coke drivers or former Coke drivers, in the case of Mercurio and Reynolds, who retired at the end of last year.
Exactly, and just behind them, another little trio starting to form. Not really seeing trains, just these kind of clumps of cars that are coming around. And this is essentially for that 9th place that we were watching earlier. Hawken now at the lead of the train instead of in back of it. Landon Mills and Michael Frisch in this little group.
See Mills, a good run for him so far, sitting in that 10th spot. That 125 machine.
A little bit of a battle in front of them, it seems like, because Wyatt Tinsley and Brian Mercurio going to swap positions. In fact, I think Tinsley lost 2 spots just now, and you can see, yeah, the 41's in front of him, and the 8 as well. I think that was just coming out of the final turn.
Yeah, he gave both of those spots up. You know what happened? He had to power slide that thing coming off turn 11. Full 4-wheel slide on exit. That allowed Gary to get underneath him going into 12, and Mercurio was able to slip by him on the straightaway as Tinsley went wide. Dylan Basin on the pit lane, I imagine, to fix the damage to the right side of that race car after getting a piece of the tire barrier. So tough break early on for Basin as we've got trouble. That's Riolo. That's Poulin trying to avoid, and who else is that back there? That's not
Clapper
AJ
Newell.
Green. Yeah.
So this
And now
starts with
AJ
Clapper Newell, actually, it looks like. Sorry, go ahead.
AJ Green pitted and missed his box. He backed up. That threw me all off. So it's Jeremy Clapper Newell involved with Riolo. This is headed to turn 10, and just like what we saw Poulin do, Clapper Newell drives it in too deep. Riolo followed him in there. Not a lot of damage for the 048, but a good amount for the 24.
And that was Spalding who snuck by on the inside, just being really heads up in that situation. Somebody's having problems trying to find their pit stall. Eventually they manage to get to it and are going to take tires while they have the opportunity. But yeah, it is as close as you do want to follow. If you don't feel confident about the car in front of you, it probably is a good idea to just give a little bit of space so that you have some time to react, or else you'll wind up like Poulin, who literally just kind of plowed in.
This is Tyler Gary in 4th. Drive to turn number 4 right here. This is where things really narrow up into turn 5. They spread out a little bit on the drive to turn 6, but this track narrows up in a hurry with some of these pretty much 90-degree corners that they have to navigate.
So many 90-degree turns at this track, and yeah, it changes width constantly, so you really have to know exactly how far you can take the car in each of these turns. This is another one that narrows up significantly here on the East Congress Plaza, where it'll siphon into this long curve past the statues, the Bowman and the Spearman. Again, it's kind of one of those idiosyncrasies where you just have to know where you can place the car, where you can push it, and where you can't.
5 laps complete. We're already halfway through stage 1. Stage 1 and stage 2, each 10 laps long. Stage 3, the final 35 laps. You're right on board with Wyatt Tinsley, currently sitting in that 6th spot.
That first turn is a real doozy. It's a lot more open than many of the others, but at the same time, it's a very heavy braking zone and a good place to try and sneak a pass in right up to the wall here. And yet Tinsley looks as casual as always.
Calm as can be.
Watch this corner exit right here. Bit of an odd apex through there because you can see how the corner kind of flattens out, which honestly surprises me a bit. I don't know why they didn't make it a little bit more distinct down at the apex. And it means that you really got to get it right and honestly kind of late apex it a little bit to get the shot off the corner. But you can't see that late apex with these jersey barriers. So it makes it pretty tough to hit right.
Talk about Tinsley. He did not have a good go of it in the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series race here on Tuesday night. He only finished in 27th, more than a minute behind your leaders in Zelensky and Parker White. So he's having a good run of it right now. Could not say same based off of Tuesday night's race. Similar for Tyler Gary. He finished right behind Tinsley in the 28th spot.
Akabuwazi also had a big hit not long ago down into turn 1, unfortunately. So he's had to take a tow and is going to have to wait patiently for the repairs on that one. So you watch these guys get back onto Balbo once again, and definitely fighting for these positions here. Even though it's in the middle of the pack, towards the front of the pack, not quite the lead. Gary, Mercurio, and Tinsley. Oh, and more drivers coming into pit.
These are scheduled stops, believe it or not. Noel, Zwack, Nalraki, Kevin McAdams, all coming to the pit lane here. Looks like just right side tires, I think, for Noel. Kevin McAdams is a fuel-only stop. So some strategery here on the pit lane. In fact, it looks like everybody just taking fuel only to get them, perhaps, I wonder, to the end of stage number 2, if they pit here. That's my guess. I don't know if it's right, but...
Yeah, and they do have unlimited tires, so interesting call there to only take 2 on that one. Must be just a timing thing, hoping to get in and out without losing too much as we continue to watch this battle here for that 4th position, just not going away. Oh, Parker White has come in from 2nd.
And he just got onto pit road before pit lane closed. Remember, the pits close with 2 to go in the stage, so I think this is a strategy call to get off cycle a little bit like the others did that last time by. So Parker takes advantage of it and just gets onto pit road before the pits close. From the 2nd spot, everybody else, they're going to have to wait until the end of lap 10 to come back to pit lane. Now, if we do not get a caution here in the next 12 laps, we're going to be looking at a stage caution at the end of stage number 2 to bunch everybody back up. And I know some drivers maybe aren't looking forward to that, hoping maybe we would get an early caution. The way things have been, it's been clean and green. Bobby Zelensky, he's opened up a 4.5-second lead over Graham Bolin. 13 seconds over Tyler Gary, who's in 3rd. You see these guys right here as they come down to Wallabonga Magalaga.
Ooh, getting awful close. So overcooked it. 41 is going to wind up just clipping the wall. Tinsley manages to back it up in time so that he doesn't make it worse, but they lost a bunch to that number 8. It's many, many car lengths between them.
Matt Spalding has big damage to the front of his car. This is turn 1. As the leader takes the white flag in stage 1, Matt Spalding, his car is destroyed. He went in firewall deep into the turn 1 tire barriers. No, he missed the tire barriers and hit the jersey barriers. Watch this. Coming in hot.
Thought he could do it, and unfortunately, I don't know why he thought he could do it. There's no way that car was making the corner.
See the front clip there bouncing off to the road. So we will get the caution actually at the end of stage 1, not the end of stage 2. I had it crossed up. So once 10th place crosses the start-finish line, the caution will come out.
Right now, that's held by Michael Frisch, who's actually just ahead of our highest bidder, Parker White. So Parker came very close to being amongst those top 10, despite taking a pit stop.
And with his several stage wins, I think he's up to 16.5, if memory serves me correct. Let me double check. 14.5 stage wins for Parker White. I think he's just looking to maybe get a stage point out of this if he can get by Frisch. So pitting, at least, was the move for him because he was so far out in front.
I'm sorry, a half a stage win? Is this?
Yeah, I don't know how that worked either. Green and white checkers, though, are out for Bobby Zelensky. In the place of Kevin King, he will win stage number 1. So for a guy where stage points don't matter, he gets it done. Bolin comes across 2nd. Here comes Gary. He'll finish 3rd. More trouble. This is turn 6. Who is that has come to a screeching halt? Was that Ryan Pandisio, maybe? No. I saw somebody really lock it up going into 6.
I had missed it. I do know that Riolo caught the wall. Sorry, go ahead.
Everybody got back up to speed by the time I looked over at timing. Could have been maybe Ethan Corder or possibly Art Reimer. He kind of drifted it off the corner, but now the caution's out for the stage. So our first caution flag, we made it 10 laps without a caution. Jake Poulin will get the free pass, and Bobby Zelensky will more likely bring everybody to the pit lane here under this caution. So this is the only scheduled caution of the night. From here on, the only way we get a caution is if 3 or more cars crash. So it's going to take a big old pileup, I'd imagine, to get us to throw a caution the rest of the way. But with how tight this track is, it's easy to get the track blocked, so I'm not going to rule it out.
Yeah, the drivers that this does advantage pretty good is Poulin, Riolo, Worth, all drivers that haven't pitted. They'd lost a lot of time with incidents, so they're going to be able to catch back up. This will honestly kind of save their bacon a little bit.
Bobby Zelensky, your leader, here at Chicago. It's the Chicago triple header for FTF. FTF1 was at Chicagoland last night. We're here at the street course tonight. And then Chicagoland tomorrow in a double header. And then they've got the rest of the month of July off. So there's a lot of Chicago this weekend. And then FTF takes its summer break. At least the Barr FTF Cup Series does. We don't come back till the end of the month, 29th and 30th at New Hampshire. And Pocono. Field makes their way through turn number 12, and how about this? Everybody's going to stay out here instead of pitting, and it is because the pits are still closed. It's pretty tough to pit if the pits are still closed. So we'll step aside. When we come back, we'll sort through all the folks that pitted and stayed out, restack them for the restart. You're watching the RacingPI.com 200K from the Chicago Street Course on FTF. Back here from the Chicago Street Course, just in time. Is everybody coming to the pit lane, except for Parker White and those guys that pitted right before the end of stage number 1. But most everybody else is going to come down to the pit lane and get some service done. Fix the, maybe not fix the race cars, but get some fuel in them to get them to the end of the stage. Go ahead.
There's going to be a few fixing race cars. I'm pretty certain. Yeah. There's definitely a number that have left some marks on the walls, and while it might be enough that they could drive on, I'm sure that they are not handling how they wanted. Pretty much most of them are just splash and dash and out of the way. That is a little bit of a tricky pit exit as well. It gets very narrow coming out of there with that tire barrier.
A couple did take 4 tires. Frisch is one of them. Daniel Falkingham Must have just gotten up or something, because he's still sitting in the box, but it was just fuel only for him.
Yeah, I see some damage on the left front of the car. I wonder if he's also doing a little bit of work on that, and then he'll return. Looks like David Brown going to be exiting out here.
Chris Wetz had to tow.
Sure what that's about.
He crashed under caution. They crashed stacking up under caution going into turn 11. Let's get a replay of this.
Ooh, this cost a lot of cars, yeah.
It starts back around Jonathan Oates and Jack Mace. Mace really gets on the brakes hard. You'll see the line stack up in front. Bam, bam, bam. That's Corder that gets into the back of AJ Green, who gets hit by Corey Cook, who gets hit by Art Reimer, and Chris Wetz gets the worst end of that. Paul Mikolajczyk gets damage, as well as Kolinix. That's where the damage from Falkingham came from. Cole Freilich in it as well. We've crashed more cars under caution than we have under green so far tonight.
That's just really unfortunate. Yeah, look at the 77, and then nose of that car is just not in good shape now. So no wonder we had a few that stayed kind of long in there. Poulin spent quite a bit of time in there. Jordan Worth, it looks like. David Brown had to take quite a bit of repairs. Michael Frisch is still in there. Dylan Basin also is. So I think this unfortunately, like you said, yeah, did a lot more damage to what we saw while we were racing.
They wrecked in the Coke race on the pace lap, and, well, can't do much better here, unfortunately. And I think that's just that stack up because of how tight pit entry is coming off turn number 12. I almost wonder if that was a residual effect from guys pitting so that they just got backed up that far down the racetrack. And all it took was really one guy to get on the brakes hard, and it was calamity for the folks behind.
Now watch out for this restart, because you'll, especially with some of them on older tires, now not super old here, obviously, they're going to experience a little bit of trouble trying to get the car going. And on top of it, they've lost the temperature in the tires. So it's going to be tricky on the restart just to try and stay out of trouble. This, I think, is going to be the real danger, along with them being stacked up, is just making sure that you don't do anything silly trying to overdrive the car, because with everybody bunched up, like we've been saying, that makes chances a whole lot more likely that it's going to be multiple cars involved. It's going to be harder to try and get away from someone else's mistake, which is why I keep saying that a lot of these street races tend to be more about survival mode. You can be running a perfect race and something completely out of your control can end your day.
We'll have a lot to look at on this restart. I wonder if Parker White getting off strategy is solely just to try and beat Bobby Zelensky. Zelensky has been the fastest guy here. Zelensky will restart 6th. Now, we're going to have single file restarts tonight, so it's not like they'll be doubled up. They will stay single file. I'm really interested, though, because of Zelensky and White being on a different strategy. I wonder if this is just Parker trying to do everything he can to win the race and hold off Zelensky. So we're going to see him, Bobby Zelensky in the 88, he's going to have to charge through the field in order to get to Parker White. And I imagine it should be a pretty good battle once he gets to him, as long as we stay green. So good stuff on the horizon, and we'll see how these guys get through it. Plus, you've got guys up at the front that weren't there at the start, like Seth Knoll, McAdams, Noel Rocky, Matthew Zwack. We'll see how the guys behind sneak their way through that traffic. So here we go. This is coming up over the bridge to turn 12.
Yeah, we're getting a stack up already. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, and the restart zone. What the heck did Kevin do? We're back to racing. I think the restart zone different here. And I think Parker White didn't know where to go. Kevin McAdams did. He blows by and takes the lead to turn number 1. He leads him around through 2.
Got to pay attention to the rules, and unfortunately that is going to be costly there. McAdams now has that track advantage, and it's going to be a little bit tough to pass here. So that actually is going to be pretty important, the fact that he made that pass when he did.
Bobby Zalenski all over the rear bumper of Ryan Araki for the 4th spot. Meanwhile, here comes Parker White back at Kevin. This is headed toward turn 6. Ford the lead.
He wants that one back and down into 6. Yep, that's going to be a very popular place. Looks like Zalenski was able to get by Naraki. We have to remember the reason we keep making a big deal out of Bobby is he's the only pro-level driver on the roadside in this group. Yes, he's known for his oval forays, but he also races on the twisty bits up at the top level in iRacing.
If you couldn't tell.
Whoa! Naraki having a hard
Naraki.
moment. Yeah. Thankfully, just clipped the outside wall. I don't think he hit it too hard, but that cost him a lot of positions.
Oh, and Nate Stewart dives it in underneath him through 12 as they fan out down the front straightaway. Naraki tries to get his wits about him. Meanwhile, here comes Zalenski to the inside, takes over 3rd from Seth Knoll. Sets his sights on Kevin McAdams as Parker White's opened up a 2.5-second lead over Kevin.
Wow, this has worked out extremely well for Parker despite losing that lead. And there you go. Easy pass for Zalenski. Now he sets off after him, but what's he going to be able to do from here behind them? Looks like Bolin made a really good pass on Scott Knoll there for the 4th position.
He gets by as well, and Graham has been the 3rd best car all night. And that's
it's McAdams.
not quite where he finished. Finished 10th as he gets by McAdams. And oh boy, Tyler Gary, get out of my way. It's not really a passing zone coming into turn number 6, but he made it work as they head to Wallabonga Laga Maga Laga.
Yeah, he's got to try and chase down McAdams now. He wants to not lose touch with him. As we're getting into it, we're getting back up to speed now. And thankfully, I think we're mostly out of the danger zone for the big pileups because everybody's starting to get enough distance apart they can at least react.
Careful what you wish for, but as of right now, yes, things are pretty clean for the time being. Since the restart, you see 3 wide back here. This is with Cabrera, Jonathan Oshalim. You've got Falkingham back there trying to make his way back through the field. Jonathan Oates, as now Falkingham gets the wall off turn 12, and he'll lose a spot or 2 in the aftermath of that.
Mace is going to have to go around the outside, though, if he wants it, and I think he backed out. Figured it wasn't worth the hassle trying to risk the car into there. He'll get a better opportunity later.
Battle for 7th, Mercurio, Tinsley, Matthew Zwack. Oh, and Zwack gets into the wall. Into the braking zone, going into turn number 4. I don't think... Yeah, he just lost it under braking. He did not get any contact on the way in. Just fishtailed on him.
Now he's under threat because that's Stewart trying to look to the inside in the 4. Oh, and behind him, another attempt at a pass between Hawken and Mills. Doesn't quite work out for Mills, and it looks like Zwack is indeed going to lose it to Stewart.
Austin Johnson right behind. In the 21. Right in the tire tracks. And Hawken very strong on the road courses. We've talked about it before. Last year, missed 2 of the 3 races in the round of 12 in the playoffs. He had to win the last race in order to advance. That last race in the round, the Roval. Guess who went to victory lane? Driver 099, Brandon Hawken. Like we all expected.
Gotta rely on your strengths there. And I'd say he did just that. As there you go, White trying to run away from Zalenski. Now, last lap, Zalenski was actually 2 tenths quicker. Looks like we got a wreck coming on to East
Cook.
Jackson.
Happened to Corey here. Just lost it coming through, rather headed to turn 10. But just really slid the tires, kind of nosed it into the wall, but nothing too bad. He's got damage to the front end, but Could be a whole lot worse. Meanwhile, the push to turn number 5, blocking. This is Mercurio. Wyatt Tinsley with McAdams right in front. Contact into the corner.
Just barely getting away with it. Here's another opportunity for Mercurio. This is really tough to break into 7 and get the job done, but he's going to get it. But look how much it slows everybody up. There's multiple opportunities behind them, but it winds up in contact for most of them.
And Tinsley got into the back there of Kevin. Coming down into 7. They make their way through East Congress Plaza, and now here he goes into 11. He makes it work, and again, everybody stacks up over the bridge. And Tinsley will scoot away. Here comes Knoll. He'll bring Reynolds. He'll bring Stewart. They'll all pass Kevin McAdams down the front straightaway.
Seems like momentum's going to be critically important, especially because of these slow turns. Very single file for the most part because of them being just these 90-degree juts. And we're going to go 3 wide. The 4 of Stewart on the inside. Is he able to hang it out, though? Oh, just barely. But he's going to get passed by Hawk, and that was brilliant stuff from Brandon.
2 to go in stage 2. Hawken has already picked up 2 spots since the start-finish line. He was 11th at the line. We get to turn 5, and he's in 9th. Trying to chase down Knoll there, who is in 8th. So great stuff from Brandon Hawken, keeping himself alive.
Blake Reynolds up there.
Make their way down to 6. Oh, boy.
That was another big move. This time it looks like Mills wants it off of Stewart. Man, he's been freight trained here in these last couple laps. He's going to have to stop the bleeding, and that's what he's trying to do. Nice little defense.
It's by. Matthews Wack kisses the wall. I think there was some contact. Sorted out. That stacks up the folks behind him there. Oshalem, now Rocky. You've got Jonathan Oates in that. As they make their way down to turn 10 and now 11.
Nice move up the inside, and Jonathan Oates gets a little bit of elbows into the side of him. He's going to lose another one on top of it. That's going to be Cabrera, who sneaks inside through the final turn. Yeah, as I was saying, I think this is very much a momentum track from what we're seeing. You lose one position, you're going to see a whole bunch of others just stream by you.
That's the way it seemed, especially if you have a big train of cars behind. We're on the last lap of the stage. Parker White is your race leader. Right now, he is headed toward Wallabonga Laga. That's turn 7. Up over the bridge, down into the corner. And he'll head now toward East Congress Plaza Drive.
Still at about 2 seconds ahead of Zelensky. Checking to see what the paces look like between them. White was faster on lap 18, but Zelensky on every other lap has been about consistently 0.2 quicker. So I do think he has the measure of White, but the real question is if he can catch him, can he pass him? Because it's always one thing to catch a car, it's another to try and make that overtake.
Remember, Parker White will have to pit first as White heads to turn number 1. He's already completed the stage. He picks up his 15th and a half stage win. I still need that explained as to why Parker has half a stage point and Fresh has half a stage point. Whoa, Seth Knoll, look out. Off of turn 12. And he's going to hang on to one single stage point there. Nate Stewart takes over 9th. Knoll drops back to 10th.
Ooh, still going side by side, though, and Seth is going to give just enough space for Mills, but he still clips the wall as Landon is going to get just a bit more damage from that one. You can get away with a few of those, but you really don't want to be using up your stuff, especially if you hit the corner of the car, because if your handling goes at a track like this, good night.
See Seth Knoll. Mills peeking to the inside. This is headed to 6. Drives it in deep. Maybe a little too deep. Keeps it off the wall, though. Knoll going to try him back going into Wallabonga Laga. I'll get it right eventually.
I thought that was going to be a wreck, and somehow he keeps the place. That was brave from Mills, but that was definitely, that would qualify as a dive bomb, I'd say, but he made it work. Just he didn't hit the wall, but he certainly made it a case of I'm coming through. You better watch out. I think that's Johnson in behind him. Oh, and 61 with another incident. That looks like coming on to Balbo at a 6.
Been a rough night for Corey Cook.
Up and over the bridge there, across the light rail tracks. Back to the 11 now. Not the 011, just the 11, Jonathan Oshalim.
Bralick just had a moment going into turn number 1 as well. Stuck it into the tires. Got damage now to the front end of the 15.
That was Quarter that was trying to see if he could sneak by with that one, but Cole did a good job covering that one off. Ooh, I was going to say, don't try and look down into turn 4. That's not going to happen. Thankfully, the 35 backed out of that.
Yeah, if there was ever not a passing zone at this racetrack, it is turn 4.
Way too narrow, and not even really, you're not braking a whole lot, which kind of surprised me. Initially, in the original version of this track, when iRacing first put it out, the prototype, it's a long braking zone. But in this car, since they've had updates when it was initially released, and the new version of it, it's a little bit more open. So you can actually take a fair bit of speed into there.
McAdams gets past again. This is turn 12. Falkingham gets by as David L. Brown way off the pace. He may have broken a toe link or something because that thing is evil. He comes to a dead stop. That's turn 11. Just trying to let people by. And I think for David L. Brown, yes, he does have a broken race car. He stuck it into the wall coming out of Wallabongalaga Magalaga.
Yeah, and he's got a meatball flag, so he's forced to come in and get those repairs. Unfortunately, no spare car in this series, so he's just going to have to sit and wait patiently, probably going to go a number of laps down.
Hit it hard with the left front, driver's side first, so I'm sure a lot of damage to the suspension of that car. This is Mercurio and Tinsley, 5th and 6th.
So Mercurio's got the track position right now. Watching from on board, Tinsley, who's gotten another clip of the wall here. Again, like I said, you can get away with a little bit. You can have light little touches, and if you're really pushing, you're probably going to get a few of those. It's just you got to watch out for those times that you really pancake it, because that's where you can get into trouble.
Just want to point this out, by the way, for the record, to acknowledge our leader, Parker White. That gap has maintained right at about 2 seconds to 2.2 seconds. Zelensky was still about a tenth faster that last time by, but trouble Riolo again. This is down East Congress Park Drive, Plaza Drive rather, and this is another case of just overdriving it. Got the concrete again, and he toes that 048. It's been a bad night for Aaron Riolo.
I am pleasantly surprised at seeing a lot of drivers making sure to take a tow so that they don't cause problems. There's a few that have driven it back, but it's usually in a case where they're in enough of an opening. By the way, I think we saw the 88 just have a little bit of a clip of the wall coming into East Congress. Again, like I know I keep beating the bush on this one, but you can do that, but a bit surprising that we're seeing Bobby push it that hard. I know he wants to catch up to him, but you got to preserve the car here. I think a second place is still going to do him good. I know he wants to beat him, but you got to think big picture.
And saying he's looking to back up that win from Tuesday night, prove it's not a fluke. Parker White is trying to redeem himself after the race on Tuesday in the Coke Series as they make their way through 4 and 5 and head down the long stretch down South Columbus Drive to turn 6.
Credit to Graham Boland as well. He's still within about 5 seconds of them. So yes, they're running away from him, but I think he's doing a pretty good job of managing it, and he's kind of in no man's land. So certainly looking like a potential podium for the 84 car.
Good battle back around 15th. David Cabrera, Matthew Zwack. This is headed down to turn 4. They make their way through 3. Zwack able to complete the pass, and Cabrera just can't get back to the inside. As you see Oates slap the wall right behind.
A nice little trio here. Oates at the tail of it. Again, we've seen a few drivers make those aggressive moves down into 6. Some very late braking for Cabrera. He's going to brush the wall in the process. If you go too aggressive on the brakes, this car loves to jump around at the infamous wheel hop. So you got to make sure that you don't try and overdrive it, because it can get pretty diabolical on the binders.
Parker White just lost 9 tenths that last lap because of the lap car of Cole Freilich. He got stuck behind him through East Congress, down East Jackson, and then was able to get by him down the front stretch. Zielinski is not going to have that same problem. He's only going to lose maybe 4 tenths. Oh, we know. I thought he was going to get by Freilich. Instead, Freilich stays in the gas. Now Zielinski gets by, but the gap has widened back out to where it was before Parker White caught the lap car of Cole Freilich. Maybe just a hair closer. It's down to 1.7 seconds.
Yeah, he was down at the apex, right where Bobby wanted to be, unfortunately. So there's an old saying, traffic giveth and traffic taketh. And that's exactly what we saw right there. Yes, you might be able to get a time, but you need a little bit of luck on your side, as well as some of the skill that comes with lapping cars. Sometimes you can see this happening and set yourself up to just have a better run. And sometimes it is just sheer luck on who's behaving well and who's positioned their car in a place that you're not going to lose that time.
Trouble, Chris
up to
Wentz.
1.8.
He's around in turn 2. Right at the start of South Lakeshore Drive. Did a 360. Keeps it going.
Sounds like we had another car towing. Trying to make
It's
out.
David
I think it was Brown, yeah.
What happened
Was
to
he
the 83?
involved?
Oh, he did it again. He did it in Wallabonga Laga again. Coming out of turn 7. He fences it, as there's what happened to Wetz. Just getting on the gas too early and sliding. This is exactly what David L. Brown did earlier, just a different time of race. And he tows it again because the car is broken yet again. Meanwhile, trouble for Jordan Worth. That's not trouble. He's just coming off the pit lane. Yeah. And he didn't want to run over those guys, so he was very courteous on his pit exit.
So he's going to be able to get out and carry on. But those that were there with him, that was Naraki, Basin, and Mace. And Basin and Mace have been kind of going at it hammer and tongs. They've had a few car contacts already between them, and they're close enough it could happen again. There is no incident limit in this series, but even still, you keep using up the cars, beating and banging them against each other, and you're going to get into trouble eventually. This time, they won't make contact. Basin still very much on the tail of Naraki.
Right on board with Dylan Basin. He is back in 20th. Ryan Naraki just in front of him for position. You got McAdams there as well. Remember, there's still damage to the right front of that 04 from when he got into the tires earlier on tonight.
Another wall strike from Wyatt Tinsley, who sits in the top 5. He can't afford that because Brian Mercurio has been kind of breathing down his neck, honestly. Meanwhile, down the front stretch, we saw things getting awful close. And wow, Mercurio's down to within 2 tenths. Well, make that ahead. Tinsley actually gave that one up.
Well, that's exactly what Mercurio did a couple of laps ago to Wyatt Tinsley, where Tinsley was the faster car and Mercurio just pulled over and gave it away. Tinsley got the wall we talked about coming out of turn 2, and then he did it again getting out of turn 4, slapped the McDonald's sign, and going through 5, he just pulled over and said, here we go. So he gave Dr. Bob the spot and put Mercurio back into 5th place.
Just goes to show you that survival mode, sometimes it can pay off, not taking the risks, because getting the checkered flag is going to be a win here today. And you're probably going to pick up some spots. I see a lot of green on my timing and scoring right now of drivers who are up the order.
Parker White hit Chris Wetz at some point here through all of this, and this was... Oh, man, okay, so this was going into turn number 8, so almost a lap ago. This is way too early. He gets into him getting into turn 8 and pretty much just boot scoots and boogies him out of the way.
That did slow him up. It's down to 1.3, back to Zelensky. And Bobby needs everything he can get right now. We still have about half the race left to go. And 1.3 does not seem impossible. We still could have a potential full course yellow as well. They're never out of the woods in that situation. So you have to always be cognizant of how that could change the picture.
Here we go. Zelensky and Parker White, more lap traffic ahead. This is Poulin and Pandicio in the 053 and in the 63. Oh, and Poulin locks up and gets into the wall. And Pandicio moves over and gets Parker White a lane. Zelensky had to lift, I think, just a second to get by Poulin. He didn't lose much time to Parker White, but he did lose a little. But the lap traffic gets out of the way of the 2 leaders.
It was just a couple tenths that he had to give up there. And he'll remember that one. He'll know exactly how all little pieces of this race get put together to end up where he is once we get to the checkered flag. You can bet that these guys are going to analyze this one to death as we watch him come over the train tracks once again and down into East Congress Plaza. But it's back up to 1.7. It was down to 1.3 for a brief while. This is tantalizingly close for that 88.
Can see him, but you also got to remember, too, that they've got to make one more stop, I would imagine, for fuel. So this is not over yet by any stretch. Meanwhile, 7th on back is in a nice little train right now, coming through Walla Magalaga, headed to turn 8. Hawken, Reynolds, Nate Stewart in this train, 7th, 8th, 9th.
Mills is just barely clinging on to the back. You can just catch flashes of them back there. So he wants to see a little bit of a battle start to erupt, because that will do nothing but help him in this situation, as everybody's going to slow each other up. We've seen how crucial momentum is. And if he can just get those others to start squabbling amongst each other, it'll open up opportunities for him and get him a lot closer.
Here we go. Crossing the course is Reynolds, and Hawken gets to the inside, going to turn 2. They'll be side by side, headed to turn 3.
Yeah, but Blake is not on the desired line here. It is in the hands of Hawken. He's got the nose ahead, and it looks like Blake's going to give that one up, and that's exactly what I was talking about, because now Stewart is much closer to them. Landon Mills just about close enough as they accelerate down South Columbus Drive. And don't count out Blake Reynolds. One thing I've seen him do over the years is race the majors, and that is a series that runs all kinds of cars at all kinds of tracks, and he was very handy on the roadside.
Kolonix has had to tow. He's had an issue in the 22. He missed turn 1 by a country mile and clobbered the tires.
Yeah, but he went in the corner, unfortunately. As hard as he hit, I fear that he might... Yeah, he's got a meatball flag, so he had to take a tow.
Yeah, that right front was pretty broke on that 22 of Kolonix. Getting down to the 1. Oh, Parker White again gets stuck behind lap traffic. This is in Walla Magalaga as Ethan Corder in the way, and now Bobby Zelensky may feel the pain here. I'm sorry, that was 4 and 5. Now here they come to 6. And Zelensky able to get by with no problem to get down to 1.2 seconds over the bridge.
This has got to be super tense inside both cars. This is the sort of situation
now
which
Austin Johnson, he's missed turn 1 and got into the tires. Chaos.
But it's all single car incidents, so none of this is going to bring out the flag right now unless somebody causes a blockage in one of the thinner parts of the track. So this
New leader. Bobby Zalenski has taken the lead as Parker White got screwed up and hit Corey Cook. Lap traffic interfering with the lead, and Bobby Zalenski takes it coming out of turn number 11.
Corey, unfortunately, hit the wall right in front of Parker, and again, no place to go. Watch this. That's Corey in the green, and the 11, he sees it, and he's trying to steer out of it when he sees it happening, but he just can't keep from making that contact. So Zalenski now has the upper hand and a gap of a 1.5 seconds.
And damage, slight damage to the left side of Parker White. Meanwhile, lap traffic. Zalenski gets by Paul Mikolajczyk. Parker White will do the same. The gap down to 1.1 seconds. Zalenski doesn't have a lot of lap traffic ahead. The next car ahead is Jack Mace. He's about a corner ahead of your race leader. And oh man.
It's only about 30 cars left from what I can tell out of the 40 starters, which is honestly, I'd say maybe about right around where I anticipated we'd be. There's another scrape of the wall for Zalenski. He's not letting up at all. So I wouldn't say it's too horribly bad, but also not super good from what we've seen. The drivers have indeed been getting eaten up by this course.
Ryan Rocky on the pit lane back in 22nd. Let's take a look at the replay of what happened with Alex Kolonix a couple of laps ago, getting down into turn number 1 if we can. As he is pretty much done for the night. So here's that 22 headed down to turn 1.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's always a really helpless feeling when you know you've outbraked the corner. You know you're going in too hot. There's not much you can do. You're going to try to minimize the damage however you can. But in that situation where you're coming in that fast, you pretty much know as soon as it happens, your night's over.
Bobby Zalenski catching up with some lap traffic. As there you see Nate Stewart, Blake Reynolds. That's a battle for 8th and 9th. Jack Mace gets out of the way, does not interfere with your race leaders. So we'll focus back here on this battle with Stewart, Reynolds, and more.
Yeah, it's Mills back there in the 125 giving chase as they come into 4 and 5 here. Wow, Stewart looking very strong, but it's off the corner that you got to worry about, and that is where Reynolds put some distance on that number 4. Let's see what they do coming down into 6 here. Yeah, the 4 is not going to try it quite yet.
Just not close enough. They head over the bridge down to turn 7. Off of Balbo Drive and now on the East Congress Plaza Drive. A couple more cars have made trips to the pit lane. Seth Knoll, Kevin McAdams. At least McAdams, no Rocky. Those are guys that pitted earlier, right before the stage end of stage 1. So I'd have to think that we would see Parker White on the pit lane in the very near future because of that.
That's a good point. Yeah, he might have some damage to deal with. Now he's got to try and figure out if he can get that track position back once again. So it's all on him to try and figure this puzzle out. But he is within a second, so he has been gaining somewhat. So if he does have damage, I'd say he isn't being slowed down by it. Oh, somebody putting smoke up here down into 7. I think that was Blake Bryant.
And that's going to be the next lap car that the leaders catch as they make their way down East Congress Plaza Drive. And Zalenski has caught Bryant in a hurry. Here we go. This is down out of turn 10, out of 11. Bryant pulls over, and Parker White is going to get stuck right behind him.
Oh.
Moves him. Tries to, and Parker's coming to pit road.
That was probably a good call right there.
Yeah. May have been the best outcome possible.
He knew he was going to get slowed up, might as well make the best of it. It's around the time for those pit stops. In fact, this might have been his call in general, and it was planned, but we'll never know for sure, because I'm sure whatever answer he gives us is going to be hidden a little bit compared to the truth as he hits his pit stall and takes his service. Now, the real key is going to be coming out without traffic, as Zelensky's starting to feel a little bit. They're seeing that car slide around a little more.
Fuel only from Parker White. A little surprised that he didn't take the tires. He fixed the damage, though. 11.7 seconds in the box. He's down and away. So Parker White going to just make it on tires. Now, that's about what they did on Tuesday night, where a lot of people only took fuel only, just because the tires don't wear as much on this road course in particular. There's a couple more behind the race leaders, Pitt, Nate Stewart, Landon Mills. So I'm interested here just because out of the few guys that we've seen take tires, Michael Frisch being one of them, he has not been a factor trying to claw his way through the field.
Yeah, it was interesting. The drivers were talking to me after the race saying that with the way the tires are, you actually get faster by the end of the stint just from the fuel burn off. So kind of works a little bit old school. I'm used to covering the Lotus 79s here on iRacing, and that's how they work, where the car is just going to continue to pick up pace. By the way, Dylan Basin, I think, had a little bit of a half spin, and that put him down to 14th.
Rambolin is in. That was your second place driver.
Zelensky stayed out, though, so he's committing to this. He's not responding, which is interesting. If he felt like he had the pace to keep ahead of him, I would have said just pit the lap after him so he doesn't have all that much of an undercut on you. But no, he's going to stick to the plan.
Tinsley hops in as well. Parker White, by the way, just took second spot because Bolin pitted and he just passed Tyler Gary down the front straightaway. So Parker White pitted and is already back in second place. It was a longer stop because he had to fix the damage. And he's still in second place. Yes, he's some 30 seconds behind Zelensky, but you lose about 32 seconds pit entry to exit. So Parker White should come back out to be the race leader, as I think Zelensky is going to make the call as Basin hits the wall right in front of him. Out of turn 11, slides out of the way, and Zelensky, I think, yes, here comes your race leader to pit road.
Okay, so last two laps for him were a 25.5 and a 25.1. Parker White, we won't know his pace until we see him come across, but he was running low 25s there before. Again, he's put fuel in it, so from what we've been told, that means the car will be a little bit slower. So it might be the overcut that is the more effective thing here because of that. We'll find out as Zelensky's in his stall. He's taking fuel.
Parker White off of turn 12 as Tyler Gary pits. Here comes White. Hits the start-finish line. Zelensky gone, and he will hold on to the lead. Parker White just comes through turn 1 now. Great stop from Bobby Zelensky. He's got almost a 4-second lead over Parker White with 18 laps to go.
It was 2 seconds quicker, 3 seconds quicker, actually, Bobby in his pit stall. And I'm curious how much of that is him putting less fuel in and how much is that the randomization of iRacing with the pit stops, because if it was the randomization, that is really gutting for Parker White that was out of his control. If that was under fueling, Zelensky's got to hope he's put enough in.
Well, Zelensky with an 8.9 second stop of the box. I have a feeling that that's plenty of fuel to get him to the end. But we'll see how hard Parker White pushes, as he has a ton of lap traffic in the way. Zwack and Kevin McAdams are right in front of Parker White. Plus, you've got Frisch there as well, and Ethan Quarter, and David L. Brown. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Those are the guys in front of Zelensky. But he's going to have a lot of lap traffic to get through. Will Parker White, in order to get to Zelensky, because Zelensky's going to get to some lap traffic too, but Parker White's also got to get by.
Credit to Austin Johnson and David Cabrera. Both still owe us a pit stop. They've been out there for 25 laps and cruising. So in it for the long haul on this one as we're watching Johnson here down into the penultimate turn. Let's see if he comes in this time as the 63 is pitting in. That's Pendicio, who seems to have had an accident, we're hearing.
This is replay with Pendicio.
Oh.
Oy, yeah.
Well, that's an unfortunate reason to come into pit lane, but you kind of stuck with that one. He figured might as well make the best of it and takes his pit stop. Austin Johnson also takes his, so he's pitted in, and we're waiting.
Cabrera.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, David L. Brown again! He's broken again!
Wow, how many times has he wrecked that car?
Now,
he's not giving up.
He didn't do it in turn 7 this time. This time it was turn 5, where he drove it in too deep and coming up off the corner. No, I'm sorry, it wasn't turn 5. Where did this happen? Oh, he did it coming out of turn 8. One turn later, he turned in too early and got the inside wall, and that kicked him back across the track right in front of Parker White. Parker White able to avoid, but that's the third toe for the driver of the 83 tonight.
That's another bit of frustration for the 011. Parker up to 3.5 seconds behind Zielinski. Just can't seem to get the brakes in this one.
Zielinski does have some lap traffic in the way. Parker White only has one car. Here comes Nate Stewart underneath Tinsley. That's turn 12. There's only one car between Zielinski and Parker White. That's Michael P. Frisch. Zielinski has Cabrera and Freilich right in front of him, coming through the tightest part of the track out of turn 7 to turn 8.
Nice job there by the 20 to kind of feed Stewart out towards the wall. Knew he had to give up the ghost. He just wasn't going to have the grip to be able to hang on there, so he falls back to 7th. Also, interesting note here with Mills at the back of this group. I believe he is the only Illinois driver, so I'm not sure what part of Illinois, but he could be the only driver at his home course here.
How about that?
Depends on how close in Indiana some of the Hoosier drivers are. Whoa, big dive to the inside.
Oh, they're on the wall.
Didn't make it, and he took Reynolds with him.
Just locked it up, and both cars wind up in the wall coming out at turn 6, and now he did it again. Mills did it again, this time out of Walla Baga. And that thing's got to be hurt now if it wasn't before. Perhaps some suspension damage to the 125 as both front corners of that car are junk.
Now, he doesn't have the black and orange flag, so he is able to carry on if he wants. We'll see. He'll know better than we will what the handling of that machine is at this stage. Yeah, he's going to keep trying, although it didn't look all that great coming out of 12.
Art Reimer has gone around. Chris Wetz has parked the car after he got a meatball flag. You see Art in the 93. Normally Nathan Rabideau's car, but Rabideau has been busy the last several races, so other people have been filling in, and Reimer just going into turn number 11, overdrove it, stuck it into the tires. See the damage on the left front of that car. As we are at 15 laps to go here at Chicago, Zielinski is off the final corner, about to make it 14 laps to go. The gap 3.4 seconds. Back to Parker White in second, who's trying to prevent a similar result from Tuesday night.
The way it's going, though, it's not looking good for him. He has not been able to make inroads. He needs to start getting some faster laps, and he needs it absolutely right now, because at 3.5 seconds back, let's see, he essentially needs about a little over a tenth a lap to try and gain on him. That's on average.
Oh, man, Zielinski just slid the tires coming out of turn 5. Oh, boy. He holds on.
Sorry, that's more than 0.2 of a lap per lap.
By the way, we just got some breaking news from the Real Chicago. No real race cars are on the racetrack, but apparently there are like 20 cars running the street course right now. They're getting access from a pedestrian area and getting onto the racetrack.
Uh-oh. I can't tell you. Yeah, can't tell you how to do that, but I can tell you if you go over there. While I do love deep dish, my recommendation is go to Portillo's if you want good food out in Chicago.
Here you go. Don't drive on the Chicago street course, at least not
Please
this
don't.
weekend. Yeah.
Wait till the barriers are down.
Got a night in the clink coming up if you do some of that tonight, I'm afraid.
A close battle here between these two. Got to be absolutely on top of it. Tinsley versus Stewart. Stewart's been trying his best to keep him honest and hasn't been able to quite get by him. He's been hounding him for a number of laps here.
Got some lap traffic here as well. Riolo, Ethan Corder. They make their way out of 12 down the front stretch. Stewart to the inside. Tinsley defending. Riolo locking the tires up, getting down into 1. See what kind of an impact this could have as they make their way to 2. Riolo stays glued to the wall and lets the 2 by.
Also worth noting that we are down to only 15 drivers left on the lead lap. Remember, we've had a caution in this race that have bunched them all up. And at that point, what did we have? About 37 cars on the lead lap at that stage. And yet, Zelensky's just been chewing them up and spitting them out.
Right on board with Riolo. The battle that we were watching right in front of him. With Wyatt Tinsley and Nate Stewart to make their way to 6. The gap for the lead has closed up. It's down to 2.5 seconds. And it's because Bobby Zelensky is dealing with a ton of lap traffic. Got stuck behind the 73 of Jonathan Oates for pretty much the second half of the lap. Got by him. Now he gets by Knoll. The gap is under 2 seconds. We'll see how easy it could be for Parker White to get by these guys as they make their way down to turn 7.
Knoll eventually got out of the way, but man, he was not playing favorites there. So Parker down to 1.8 seconds. Finally, the luck is turning back on him. But the downside is with so few laps to go, Zelensky just has to manage it from here. He does have to worry a little bit about that traffic from what it looks like, but I don't think he needs to hustle all that hard. He just needs to keep the car clean and watch out for when he catches drivers, as Parker's going to get a little bit of a taste of that. Oh, he's not even going to get by Oates. Now he is.
Yeah, Oates lifted to get by. Parker White lost maybe half a second through there. The gap's back to 2.5 seconds to Zelensky. We'll see how fast he can get by Seth Knoll here, as Zelensky has Pandicio in front of him. He pulls over, gets out of the way. Parker White's got some stuff to do here to get by Seth Knoll as they make their way to 4 and 5.
Yeah, and this is pretty much a carbon copy of what happened to Zelensky. Seth really just didn't jump out of the way for him. He's the last one on, or was the last one on the lead lap before that. So he's not interested in giving it up, along with it having that battle with Jonathan Oates. So no wonder he's not making life easy for these two.
Oh, and that's what these guys are going to run into, is they're starting to catch more drivers that are currently on the lead lap, like Oshlam and Austin Johnson, who are in a battle right now. After Jimmy Ritchie Price, those are the next 2 cars that Bobby Zelensky, your race leader, will catch, coming to 10 laps to go.
Yeah, that interaction that we saw before was a perfect example of the problems he's going to have when he catches up to Johnson and Oshlam. If they're still fighting for position, they might be caught up in what's going on there with them and not really looking and noticing that's actually the leader. Now, they'll get blue flags to let them know that the leader is coming to lap them, but they are under no obligation to leap out of the way. And in fact, we got a little bit of side-by-side here. Is that Tinsley and Stewart?
It is. Nate Stewart about turned Tinsley going into 6. And then Tinsley locked up the tires, trying to hold on to the advantage into 7. On board, out the back of Tinsley. He's having a blast.
And Reynolds was under attack from Landon Mills. Mills got that spot on top of it. Yeah, look at the smile on his face with that one.
Back down the front straight. 10 laps to go. Oh, and Tinsley locks him up again.
I think he's going to get away with that. That was locking up the left front down into the corner. You can do that. You don't want to do it too much because you'll start to overheat the tire, but that's just
trouble.
lifting it.
Basin and
Whoa.
McAdams. This could be a caution depending on if anybody else gets involved. No, we stay green. As Basin had to tow. Basin wedged it on in there, just overdrove it, and Kevin McAdams, unfortunately, he drove it in as well. No, I'm sorry, Basin. Oh, Basin backed it up into traffic, trying to get it off the wall. And that's how others got involved. We'll need to replay. It all starts with Basin. He was running in the 18th position at the time going into turn number 6. But we do not have a caution for contact. Here it is.
Yeah, this is what happens when you're basing decisions on bad information. And, yeah, wasn't watching his F3, backed it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Black getting a piece of it there and pushing Basin back out of the way. But it also got Kevin involved. Meanwhile, Nate Stewart finally gets by Wyatt Tinsley, but Tinsley going to try and get him back down the front with 9 to go.
This has been for just about the whole race between these two. Oh, I was going to say, I don't think he's going to be able to hold on. 20 could take a dive here into 2, but he decides not to do it. And that's what I've been talking about earlier, about just kind of feeding the other car out. If you've got the car ahead, you don't want to absolutely shove them in the wall, but you just kind of want to angle the car towards there so that they have to make a decision and know that the room's going to run out eventually.
Out of turn 5. Make the march to turn 6. Nate Stewart just trying to scoot away at this point, and he is desperately looking for a good run tonight. His best finish this year, 9th at the Rock. No other finishes inside the top 10. In fact, his best finish after that, 18th at Kansas, 20th at Atlanta. Those are his only top 20 finishes this year. It's been a rough go for Nate Stewart, but a good run tonight could help push him toward the top 25. Remember, all you need is a win. If you're in that top 25, you get an automatic lock into the playoffs.
By the way, Zelensky just caught up to Oshalem and Johnson, and it was a little bit easier than what we saw a few laps ago, but not by much. He's been costing another few tenths, and it's down to under 2 seconds.
Oh, boy. Let's see if Parker can get through any of this. Good news is he may not lose a ton of time. Johnson pulls to the inside. Let's see if Oshalem gets out of the way down the front stretch. Parker White lost about a 10th, maybe. If that.
But Oshalem's a little too far away, and he's battling for position, so he's not going to want to lift there. It would be bad news for him. So we'll have to see when the 011 is going to catch him, because he needs to get a really good run to kind of force the hand of Jonathan so that he has to lift.
As far as Zelensky is concerned, more lap traffic ahead. Jack Mace, Aaron Riolo are within sight. 11 versus 11. As now Oshalem gets out of the way, pulls over. Parker White still lost about 4 tenths.
Yeah, so didn't get the rub of the green that time. It basically was, once again, evenly dispersed between Zelensky and White, both kind of experiencing the same thing. Now they got more of them. Jack Mace and Riolo are the next ones that he's trying to overtake, but they're not battling for position. Riolo knows it. Nicely done there.
Yep, Mace gets out of the way of Parker White. See where Riolo moves. Once Parker White gets there, you may not get to him until the front straightaway. But that allows Bobby Zelensky to scoot by and continue to keep that gap up from Parker White. This would come to 6 laps to go.
We are down to only 11 cars left on the lead lap now. That might be it. Brandon Hawken is the next one, and he is ahead by, gosh, about 18 seconds, I think.
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty tough to get to Hawken unless he has an issue. Landon Mills gets passed by Blake Reynolds. That's for 8th. And that's because Landon Mills got into the back of Paul Mikolajczyk, and they crashed coming out of turn 6. That's what allowed Blake Reynolds to skate on by. Bargy there. Back around the back half of the top 10.
I feel like we've been seeing a lot of these lap traffic issues in this race. Again, very much a skill of its own, trying to both stay out of the way if you're being lapped, and if you're a lapping car, making good decisions in the heat of the moment. You're trying not to lose time, but at the same time, you don't want to do something silly and risky. You have to telegraph your moves, make sure that the other car knows what's going on. Getting a little bit lower in the sky out here. It's just past 6 p.m. virtual standard time. Should be getting a few more of these shadows from the skyscrapers starting to cover the track and cool it down even more.
Yeah, right now, just let's see, 6 o'clock in sim. Bobby Zelensky, your leader, by 2.9 seconds or so. Over Parker White as there's, I thought they were going to crash coming out of turn number 1, and with Poulin, Brish, and Jeremy Ritchie Price, but they hold on. Let's take a look at what's upcoming here on FTF. Tomorrow, we've got more Barr FTF Cup Series. We'll see that here right around 9 o'clock or so. Because of the real race starting so late, we're going to wind up starting late tomorrow from the Chicagoland Oval. I don't know, Chicagoland. That's where we're going.
Yeah. They have the Ferris wheel and the roller coasters.
Yep. We're gonna have the it works. We're gonna have the GP Turn Racing iRacing qualifying. Yeah, I said all that right. GP Turn Racing iRacing qualifying series here on FTF. That begins on Tuesday from the Red Bull Ring over in Austria. You'll have that 2:45 p.m. Eastern, and we'll have our coverage of that every Thursday. The NASCAR qualifying iRacing series is back. Remember that? That's back Thursday, 9 o'clock Eastern from Mid-Ohio. Get the road course out of the way. Cora's off this upcoming week. They're back at Eldora Monday night, July 10th at 9 o'clock as Bobby Zelensky just got the wall coming out of turn number 5. Looks like he's okay. Didn't lose a ton of time. Oh, I'm sorry. That was a little while ago. Didn't realize I was in replay. And then more of that Dallara Q series from Imola. FTF1 is about set to go. Their next race, Trouble, that's Freilich. FTF1 is back in a couple of weeks with the Rectangle 500. Trouble, Tinsley has stopped and around. This is coming out of turn 1. He just lost it going in. Yeah,
that was all on his own. Now, the good news is he was able to spin the car out of the way, so nobody was really compromised by that one, and he was able to get it going, but he's going to be kicking himself after he had been having such a great battle with guys like Stewart earlier on in this race.
And he drops out of the top 10 as a result, as Hawken got by him. There's Blake Bryant. Trouble for him. To Mercurio, that's 5th place getting by. Now, we're at the point now where if we do get a caution late because of contact or a crash or something, that would mean that we go to overtime here from the Chicago Street Course. I'm not sure everybody would be quite on board with that. The exception might be Bobby Zalenski because he's been so fast tonight. I don't think it would matter if we go to overtime or not unless he wrecks. He's the guy to beat, and I don't think anybody's going to be able to beat him.
Yeah, but the problem is if you got a restart and Parker White's there, he is going to try and jump on that restart to attack as soon as he can. And Zelensky's got to watch out because he could be making a desperate move on that one. So it's not over if they have that extended race here.
Trouble pulling. Oh, and there goes Blake Reynolds around with Landon Mills. Track is still green. Poland has crashed, as I mentioned. That's, I think, in turn 4. Yeah, that's turn 4.
Also,
chaos.
Falkingham picked up 2 spots from Reynolds and Mills getting tangled with one another. So Daniel really enjoying that one as he's now up 8 positions, and that's at the top of a very stacked field. That's impressive.
Good run for Falkingham. We're at 2 laps to go. Parker White has damage.
Now, here's where this gets interesting. He actually, we are at 2 laps to go. He does not need to serve that. If the car drives okay, and he's got 21 seconds back to Bolin, then he can just bring it home and he will not be penalized.
He lost it getting into turn 4, Joe, and he slapped the wall right at the McDonald's sign, square on the driver's side, so he has to limp that thing around. He has lost 2 seconds to Zelensky. He's got plenty of padding back to Bolin. Meanwhile, here comes Zelensky through the final corner, down the front straightaway. White flag is in the wind here on the Chicago Street Course as Bobby Zelensky looks to go back-to-back between the Coke Series on Tuesday and our race here tonight in the FTF Cup Series.
Yeah, a hit like that, unfortunately, is going to really make you grimace. That one caused silence in the booth.
Yeah, I know Parker White was trying to do everything he could to get to Bobby Zelensky. Well, we're on the last lap. Here's what happened to Parker White a lap ago getting into turn 4.
So, yeah, like I said, you can carry a lot of speed into there. I think he was into desperation mode. I think he was trying everything he could to catch him and just drove it a little too hard. That's going to make him back off because now he really does just need to bring it to the checkered flag.
Bobby Zelensky in a pinch-hitting role for Kevin King tonight. This is at least the second driver of the 88 that has gone to victory lane this year not named Kevin King. King, the defending series champ. And, well, you know, he's decided that he doesn't need to run every race. He makes it work. Over the bridge, headed to turn 12. Bobby Zelensky has done it again on the streets of Chicago. He wins the RaceEPI.com 200K.
Nicely done there by the 88, really managing that race. Credit to Parker. I could tell he wasn't going to give this one up easily. And yes, he made some mistakes along the way, but again, a second place showing that he and Bobby are just on another level. Like I said, 20 seconds down to third place Graham Bolin.
This is a battle, and there goes Tinsley into the wall. This is turn 5 for 10th. This is for a top 10 finish. And I think Tinsley may have hurt the car there, hitting the wall, but he does not have a meatball flag. As they make their way down to turn 6, he drives it in deep.
He's the last 2 on the lead lap here, and it's going to be hard to overtake Hawken. We know how good he is on road courses. He's not going to give it up.
Tinsley really, really aggressive getting in. Hawken gets the speed on exit, though. It's going to take a bump, I think, for Tinsley to get the spot. Here they come, down to 10. Through 11,
Oh.
And Tinsley into the wall. Big damage for him. That settles the score there. Hawken brings it around through 12. He'll pick up 10th, and for Wyatt Tinsley, he will limp that thing around to finish P11. Is he out of fuel? He's coasting it down the front straightaway. He might be out of fuel. I wouldn't think that him hitting the wall killed the car that much. But
He'll
David
get
L.
some
Brown
help.
is, just an empty cup. Tinsley gets some push down the front straightaway to cross the line. Yeah, he was sputtering. Tinsley was sputtering there coming through the last little bit of East Congress Plaza Drive, so he did run it out.
I bet he was trying to roll the corner there. That's why he hit the wall. He was trying not to let up as much as he could and keep that momentum.
Bobby Zielinski, for the second time this week, gets to do a John Force down the front straightaway here in Chicago and definitely leave his mark on South Columbus Drive. What a drive for the driver of the 88. Picking up his first win and his first start in the Barr Visual FTF Cup Series. And he gets to add his name, 68th different winner. The Barr Visual FTF Cup Series. Since that's dating back to good old 2015. He's your winner tonight. Toyota top 3. Zielinski. Parker White so close yet again. He comes home second. He still has 5 wins on the year, though, so he has had a podium in every race except for Charlotte, dating back to Dover. Dover was in April. I just want to point that out to you. Parker White has had one finish off the podium since the end of April in FTF. An impressive mark. Bolin third, Tyler Gary fourth, Brian Mercurio finishes fifth tonight. Nate Stewart, a finish he desperately needed. He finishes sixth. Falkingham seventh. Blake Reynolds eighth. Good showing from Landon Mills in ninth. And Brandon Hawken rounds out the top 10.
Wyatt Tinsley was the last one on the lead lap. In fact, needed help to get across the line as he just about ran out of fuel. I think he would have coasted across, though. Oshalem was 12th as Austin Johnson finished in 13th. Michael Frisch was P14, and Seth Knoll in the 15th position. Jonathan Oates, P16, followed by David Cabrera in 17th spot. Then it's Matthew Zwack in 18th, Kevin McAdams 19th, and Ryan Naraki rounding out your top 20.
21st tonight belongs to Blake Bryant, Paul Mikolajczyk in 22nd, Ethan Corder 23rd, Jamie Ritchie Price 24th, Ryan Pandisio in the 25th spot, 26th Jake Poulin, Jack Mace 27th, Cole Freilich 28th, Aaron Riolo, tough night for him, 29th, Dylan Basin out of the race, finishes in 30th.
31st goes to Art Reimer with David Brown in 32nd. Then it's Chris Wetz, 33rd. This is down into the drivers that probably had a DNF here. Cole Lennox in 34th, Corey Cook 35th, and Jordan Worth in 36. AJ Green will finish P37, followed by Jeremy Clapper Newell in 38th, Matt Spalding 39th, and Hamilton Akabuezi was the first DNF of the night.
Oh, man. All right, well, let's talk with our race winner for the first time on the FTF side. Bobby Zielinski gets it done for the second time this week at the Chicago Street Course, and I know a different race compared to the Coke Series race Tuesday night, but we went caution-free, and once again, it was a battle between you and Parker White. The biggest challenge, it seemed like, was navigating that lap traffic down the stretch.
Yeah, for sure, it was. And it was a little bit of a strategy battle again, because he pitted before the stage, and I just stayed out. And that gave him the track position to clean air. And then from there, I had about a 10th on him when we weren't getting obstructed, just having to pass lap cars, which is extremely hard here. But then I would gain some because of the lap car getting his way, and he'd gain some on me. And then he got really obstructed one time, kind of got in a little incident and that got me by him. But I still think we would have come out in the lead because I didn't need to take as much fuel because I put it on that caution.
Now, I know you haven't run in a while, or ever, as far as I know on the FTF side. First race this year, first win. Are you going to come back? Are you going to do more? I know this was a one-time deal filling in for Kevin King, but are you interested in coming back, I guess is the question I should ask.
Yeah, I mean, this was my first start, and I've seen FTF around like as a pretty premier league, and I just haven't been a league racer, I guess, the last couple years, and just kind of just spend my time, I guess, doing other things, not iRacing on Saturdays or Sundays. But yeah, Kevin asked me the last couple days, and finally convinced me to fill in for him because he couldn't make it to the race. I'm like, why not? I'll go have some fun and have another intense battle with very talented Parker White, and that's I don't know. I can't tell you if we'll be back or not this season, but I assume at some point I will be.
Just dropping hints. There is a race tomorrow night at the other Chicago racetrack if you're interested. So.
10-4. We'll see.
Nonetheless, Bobby, congratulations on your first FTF win, and maybe we'll see you again this season, but if not, best of luck on the Coke Series side. Doing pretty well over there. We'll see you then.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it, guys.
Bobby Zielinski, your winner tonight at the streets of Chicago. Let's talk with our second place finisher, Parker White with Joe Peak.
Indeed. Unfortunately, Parker getting beat both times. And I was telling the audience on the way into this race that you two definitely were going to be taking lessons from earlier in the week to try and apply them here and see if you can make a different outcome. So what did you try to do differently comparatively, and what do you think went wrong?
Mainly just the fuel strategy. I tried to undercut and pit before the caution, which didn't work in the end because there was only like 5 other cars that was on that strategy, and I really needed like 10 or so. And I thought for sure that there would at least be 10 because like you just get the track position if you pit there. So unfortunately, I was like one of 7 that pit, or one of 6, something like that. And then Bobby restarted in the top 10. And then in the driver's meeting, I was told that one of the admins would say when we get into the restart zone. And I knew where the restart zone was, but I never heard anything to confirm that I was good to go. So that never got passed across. And then I went through the restart zone and everyone behind me went and I didn't go. So then I lost the lead from that. And then from there, I was basically just screwed on fuel strategy because Bobby's already like 2 seconds back from me and his stop was like almost 4 seconds quicker than mine. But P2 again, that's really good points. I already have like a really big points lead. So that's good going into tomorrow.
I guess that's the good consolation on this. How hard were you pushing at the end? We saw you clip the wall and actually get a meatball flag with just a couple laps to go. So it looked to us like you were still trying all the way to the finish.
Yeah, like really the only thing that could happen was Bobby gets held up because there was one time where a lap car wrecked in front of me and I lost about 3 seconds because I got hit. So that was really my only hope, was for Bobby to get just hit by a lap car. But Bobby definitely deserved that one because I feel like his pace was probably about 2/10 or so better than mine if he was able to hit his laps right. So I don't really think there was anything I could have done out there at the end.
I have to admit, this was a very entertaining track, both watching for the eNASCAR race and here tonight as well. Are you happy to see the other side of it at this point, though?
Yeah, like just these 2 races, I've learned a lot. And even before the Coke race, I didn't really think this track was going to be all that good for me, but I feel like I've gotten a really good rhythm for it. And I've definitely learned a lot just with consistency in general. And actually my formula rim broke before this race, so I had to pull out my old oval rim, and it's basically my first time using it in about 4 months. But luckily I was able to get adapted really quickly and it felt nice during the race. So just glad everything went well over the 2 races.
Again, congratulations on another podium and extending the points lead. Hopefully we'll see you at Chicago.
Yep, thank you.
Parker White there in P2. Meanwhile, Jacob has caught up with third place Graham Boland, who's probably happy to not be lonely for once.
Graham Boland getting the job done tonight, finishing in third, and I know maybe not quite the result you would have liked. I know you would have liked to go to victory lane, but a solid showing nonetheless. An improvement as far as from the Coke Series Race 2 tonight at this racetrack, and you've rattled off 3 podium finishes in your last 3 races here in FTF, so nothing to sneeze at by any stretch.
Yeah, I mean, the race was pretty boring for me. Like a huge gap ahead and a huge gap behind. I tried to match their pace, but I couldn't really get the front end to turn, so I was just kind of trying to find pace, and that's kind of an uncomfortable feeling. So kind of making a lot of mistakes, killing my tires. So, but hopefully I can sub for someone else, and then I'll come back next race trying to win.
There is another race tomorrow at the other Chicago racetrack, but you've had 4 top 10 finishes in your time here in FTF, all on a fill-in basis. Are you going to keep filling in, or do you see a future of, well, I might as well just get out here and try the rest of the season? Why not?
I'll just fill in. I don't think there's any way I can make the playoffs, so I'll have to look at the rule book, but I'm pretty sure I didn't meet the participation requirements, so I'll just keep on filling in for people, get them owners points.
Be a challenge off the top of my head. Let's see. We'd need to look into it, I'll be perfectly honest, but it would certainly be tough from where you're at. But the finishes that you've had so far have helped. But Graham, nonetheless, congratulations on the top 3, and we'll see you along the way, whatever you're filling in next.
All right, thank you. See ya.
Graham Boland tonight, P3 from the Chicago Street Course. Just like that, the Chicago Street Course is done. The experiment's over. Well, what did we learn?
Street courses are hard.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, this was a much better showing than I expected. I'll be perfectly honest. I went in dreading this race. We'll see what the real world looks like. I know we didn't get to see much of an Xfinity race today. We've basically got a header and a half tomorrow. I'm curious to see how crazy the real world gets, obviously, since their cautions are more strict than ours. But a clean race as far as no cautions. You had some chaos every now and again, but great racing around the racetrack, even with guys that were curb stomping the field. There was action down the grid. And you know what? I would be okay with us coming back here next year. I didn't think I would say that after this race was done.
Honestly, I'm in the same boat. I was a little concerned coming in, and especially when I initially saw the layout when it was first released. I didn't felt that it was all that inspiring, but the racing's been really good. So this gets my approval and thumbs up as well.
Justin Malillo just posted something in the Discord that says Chicago returns in 2024. Lock in your tickets today. So he enjoyed it. Unfortunately, he didn't make the race tonight, but he enjoyed it. It was a very calm night for Justin, and I hope that continues into tomorrow. Nonetheless, tonight is done. We are back tomorrow night with more FTF from Chicagoland in Joliet. Should be a lot of fun. For our producer, Zach Johnson, tonight, all the admins at FTF. For Joe Peak pinch hitting tonight, and joining me, I'm Jacob Pitts. Bobby Zelensky, your winner for the first time in 2023. He wins at the Chicago Street Course. We'll see you tomorrow night.